A lot of artists reach a point where they feel lost. This might be happening to you too. Today we'll be asking the question, why do so many art graduates stop making art? Problem number 1, burnout. Art schools thrive on the idea that you've got this big show coming up, and they also like to induce stress in students in order to make them work harder and push themselves beyond their boundaries and outside of their comfort zones. This is generally good. However, oftentimes, creating a stressful situation for a student and paralleling it with the production of work can cause them to correlate working with stress. If you're constantly creating for deadlines, critiques, and grades, not for yourself, by the time you graduate, making art doesn't feel like a joy. It begins to feel like work. Problem 2, perfectionism. When everything you create is judged, you begin to overthink it. Suddenly, making bad art feels like a failure instead of part of the process. You end up stuck, unable to make anything unless it's good enough, and eventually, you just stop making art. Problem 3, not properly teaching the business of art. You may have learned how to write an artist statement and how to analyze things through a postmodernist lens. However, did you learn how to actually sell your work or build a sustainable career? So oftentimes, art students graduate and they have no idea how to make a living, and they begin to think, was all of this even worth it? This further discourages them and makes them less likely to continue their studio practice. Problem 4, money. Art school costs a lot of money, and students often come out of it in debt. Therefore, they have to go into the workforce almost immediately in order to start repaying their loans. This causes them to spend more time working and less time on their studio practice. So these are some common reasons why art graduates stop making work. Let's look at some solutions. Solution number 1, think small. There's an old story about a ceramics professor who gave students 2 options for how they'd be graded. One group would be graded on the total weight of all the pots they made throughout the semester, while the other would be graded on just one pot, judged solely on how perfect they could make it. The result? The students who focused on a single perfect piece learned less and felt more stressed. Meanwhile, those who focused on quantity improved more and were ultimately happier with their final work. So, how does this relate to painting? Well, instead of focusing on one large painting that's absolutely perfect, you could focus on 20 smaller studies. This way, you focus less on perfectionism and more on the study of creation and discovery. Solution number 2, make time to prioritize art in your life. In school, you're constantly surrounded by different opinions, artist talks, and various approaches to making art. But after graduation, all of that suddenly disappears. To keep growing, you need to actively bring art into your daily life. Go to exhibitions, study the work that excites you, and read books that spark your curiosity. But most importantly, remember why you loved art in the first place. The passion that made you go to art school. Reconnect with that. Do it again. Solution number 3, rebuild a creative routine. Oftentimes, upon graduating, students realize that they no longer have any deadlines. This creates a situation where they no longer are pushed to create. Give yourself some time every day for creation. Even 10 minutes is good enough. This can consist of just doing some simple sketches in your sketchbook or working on a larger piece. But make sure you set aside that time every day for your own studio practice. Start with 10 minutes, then work up from there. If you stopped making art after school, know that you're not alone. You can always come back to it. The passion that led you to art in the first place, it's still there. You just need to reignite it. So, what were your experiences with art school? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks a lot, and don't forget to like and subscribe.